Well, hi all, and welcome back to 3 Hour Guitars. A bit jaded this morning for some reason. Uh, right, well, yesterday we got on with this neck quite a lot. Got it fretted, got all sorts of stuff done to it at quite a good pace actually. Just demonstrating more how much easier Fender stuff is to get done than Gibson stuff. But anyway, now I want to shape the back of the neck sort of thing. I may as well get that over with. It's kind of probably the biggest job left really on doing the guitar. And the way we're going to do this quite simply, I'm going to copy this Japanese 62 neck. I always use this as a reference because I had a 62 Strat in, or somewhere around that, a slab-board Strat anyway, for some repairs years and years ago, and I had this, this, as I've shown you, the body and the neck of this 62 crafted in Japan neck, and I actually compared the two, and this was so close. Lovely neck. So what you really want to look at is, there's features on Gibson necks, and there's features on, the features on the Gibson neck are those lovely flutes that run from the headstock sort of hips to the center of the neck kind of thing. And on a Fender, you get these, if you draw a line down that shoulder there, basically down that shoulder there, you meet at this point, and that's where kind of the back of the headstock starts and the shaft of the neck starts. So what you want to basically do is get your headstock and draw a line down there, and somewhere around here, it kind of curves round, but you can, your sort of headstock starts there, and then equally on the on the back of the neck, on the heel of the neck, you get this kind of point here. So what I do basically is put the two necks together here, and then mark where you can see where the shoulders come, sort of thing, of it's around about there, round about there, and then it runs in to the neck back round about there. But if you look at it, it doesn't go to a point. The lines kind of stay apart a little bit. So you're basically, and it's quite important to draw these lines on to just get an idea of how the neck, how the transition points of the neck sort of thing. So you must get these right, and it gives you just a good starting point. So there and there, and then to the center. So I mean, if you did extend those out to that point, they'd be about there. So that's up there roughly. So if you do those two lines to there, but it truncates somewhere around there. So at that sort of point, you don't see the point of the triangle from the neck heel, because about there it starts dipping down to the curve of the neck. Now, well, hi there. I'm gonna change my mind. I think I was being a bit dim, not dim, but lazy, when I was telling you that I wasn't gonna flatten the back of this neck to get the finished thickness there, sort of thing. You know, I've set up my overhead router here. I'm going to do exactly as I do on the Les Pauls, where I've got the neck lying on this very simple thing that basically, you know, it takes the curve out the fretboard so I can lay it flat. And I've got a spacer at this end of it, so the neck is actually held up at an angle. Now the router here, it's an overhead router thing. I mean, just have a look at my other builds, sort of thing. But basically, you know, I'm going to have the router spinning, and I'm going to be able to cut the top of the neck, the back of the neck, sort of flat. And because of that wedge bit there, you know, I'm obviously going to cut the neck is sort of exaggeratedly held up like that, so I'm going to be cutting more off this end and less off that end, so I can get the neck, although it will still be square obviously, to the, you know, within a gnats of the finished rear, the finished thickness. So I've adjusted the router down just to take an absolute fraction off the back of the neck. Let's just take a cut. So we can see on there, I've just taken a, you know, a little cut off there. So let's see what we're actually at. I mean, finished, I think we want to get down to about 23 mil. Oh, actually, I've done it too near the end. I want to be over the first fret. So we want to be sort of 23 millimeters or a bit less. So I'm 24.85 there, so I can come down another easily millimeter, sort of thing. So let's just creep up on it. I think we'll be about there now. Yeah, we're exactly 23, which is absolutely fine, because that other neck was 22.5. Now what I want to do is take a cut at this end at about the 12th fret and see where I am there, so that will tell me whether I need to adjust this wedge at the end. Which I can tell I already am, because it's not cutting at all there. So I basically need to add a little bit at this end. I'm not going to take that end down, because I know I'm cutting to the correct depth here, so I just want to adjust this depth. So I've got to add a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit on the end here, because I'm cutting too much of a slope. Like I said, I mean, I could take this end down. Let's have a look. And there's a couple of bits on it. Oh, well, we'll try that. I've just taken about 1 millimetre out of it. So what I can do here now is put this back on, adjust this down to the cut I had here. So that's that. Come here. I'm still a bit high actually. Nearly right, but what I'm going to do is just do a pass all down the neck for now, because I know I'll still be on the thick side. So you can see I'm actually just cutting a taper up to there. So this is near enough down to the correct thickness, bar 0.5 millimetre there, but obviously the neck is being cut at too steep a slope, so it's actually like running out there. So I definitely need to get this end higher up here. So maybe I'll just put that underneath there, and it's just good to mess about with it. I mean, I'll get back to you. It's pretty simple stuff. Okay, so what I did in the end was I put a little step at that end and that end, but this one's much thicker, so it's at a slope, and I went down and I shaved the neck down now, so it's roughly it's about within 0.5 millimetre of the final thickness. Well, less than 0.5 millimetre actually. So at this end we're 24.5 millimetres at the 12th fret, and at the first fret we're 23, well, just 23 and a bit millimetres at that end. So now we've got this at the, we know that this is dead flat. This part is dead flat. So we're going to curve from, what am I trying to say? I'm hopeless this morning, aren't I? Oh, fingers and thumbs. We've got the darn thing at the right thickness now, and it's still square, so it's going to be easy to work. I mean, if I'd started curving it sort of first, things like that, and just being lazy, you'd be redoing work sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. So now I'll draw these lines back on. I've got them still at the so basically now this is where the lines were, sort of thing. They're 1/4 of the way sort of into the neck, and into the neck there, and I've done halfway down there. So what I want to do now is take off that triangle just on the edge there, and then halve it again and take that away. I mean, sorry I'm a bit at 2 and 8 today. I just had a bad back for so long, it's just pissing me off now. So what, basically when Fender started making necks, for the Telecaster, you had the baseball bat neck, which was basically 1 inch thick all the way down, and some people absolutely love those necks, but they're a bit of an acquired taste. And then they went to the boat neck, where you had the skunk stripe down it. That was obviously the thickest point, but that was almost left flat at the kind of apex of the curve of the neck. So you had the skunk stripe running down here, and then either side of the skunk stripe, it didn't form a circular curve, it was more of a wedge. you know, more of a triangular profile, and hence, you know, the boat neck, which, you know, is like a bow of a ship sort of thing profile. And I love those necks, the actual boat neck. I really like that. But by the 60s, they went to a more of a semicircular profile, and that's what we're going for here, which is no problem. I mean, I want it a bit chunky sort of thing, that's why I've left it this thickness. I mean, some Strat necks get down to like silly thickness, and just like the you know, the Les Paul neck, I'm going to be using this circular cheese grater. And for you guys who only watch the Fender stuff, you know, you'll have to suffer through you know, have a look at the Les Paul neck builds or the Flying V neck builds. But it's basically, you know, like this. I'm only going to do it quickly, but you know, you can, this saves you a lot of elbow grease. So you can see exactly what I'm doing there. I'm just, you know, slowly going down, and you can see how controllable it is. It doesn't look like it, but it is. So I'll take it down to those lines there now. I won't keep showing it, but I'll get that done. Well, here we go. So I've got those chamfers on the neck now, and none of that's been tidied up with a file or anything like that, or a rasp. I mean, I can control this quite well, but if you don't feel confident enough with it, don't even use that, just use a rasp to do the lot. I mean, you'll get down there fairly quick. But yeah, so this is what I've got to do now, is just, you know, do halfway along there and halfway along there, and just keep doing, you know, like the kids thing where you draw a circle, well, part of a circle with straight lines. You know, I mean, that's what you're basically doing here. So you know, just keep on halving it and taking bits off, and there we go. So I'll just continue on with that, and we'll get close. Okie doke. Right, okay, well, I've been getting on with this neck, and you can see you know, I'm getting it now. Well, it's not really in the ballpark yet, but we starting shaping it quite nicely, and I've run a little bit into the transitions there to start getting them sort of, like I say, approaching something like a Fender sort of thing, just to get the rough shape. And I've also done this here, started this curve here, and you can see how, you know, you're getting the typical look of the veneer board on the on there, and I you know, and I just used this to kind of, you know, start it off, and then used my the corners on the corners, the ends of the linisher thing there. You've got to be, you know, you've got to be quite careful. You know, at some point you stop using machines and use hand tools. And I think, you know, if you're doing it for the first time, one of the most vital things to remember is, you know, when you start doing the transitions, you tend to concentrate, you know, on one little bit, and oh well, I'll get this a little bit better here or that, and before you know it, you've accidentally gone too deep. It's very easy to do. I've done it on a lot of early necks that I made, and then you end up with a hollow in the neck, and the only thing you can do to get that out is make the neck thinner, and that's why I like doing this cut down here, because this is, you know, this is dead flat. No, I don't think a foot will fit there. Well, you can see roughly, but you can see that is dead flat, and you want that squareness all the way around the neck. You want that flatness all the way around the neck. You know, if you've got a hollow sort of thing anywhere, then you know you can still carry on making the neck, but you'll never get that out unless you make the neck thinner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to carry on. It's basically just carry on fettling. It's not going to be long before I turn to hand tools myself, but you know, I've done so many of these necks that, you know, I'm pretty au fait with how they go, so I can, you know, I can press on with power tools sort of thing to save me back sort of thing. But yeah, so there we go, get back to you. Well, here we are, we're really rocking on now with this. You know, we are getting, I'd say we can use the word ballpark, we get in there. Things to look out for, you know, where this top nut is and how much overhang you've got behind it sort of dictates where you start the curve down onto the headstock face. And if you look in the book here at these sorts of necks, there's about half the width of a nut beyond the nut, the other side sort of thing. So the nut is round about 3.5 millimeters, so you can have 2 millimeters beyond the nut, which I've roughly marked off there, so you can bring that curve down, which gives you a good visual on like the side of the neck here. You know how nicely that runs down, and the curve on the top of the headstock has to finish before the tuner, otherwise otherwise the tuner bushing won't fit in at all. So that's where that finishes, so you know that part, you know where it finishes up here beyond the nut, so you know what curve you work into. And until you get that again in the ballpark, the neck will look a bit funny. So other important things is that the chamfering of the neck goes round into the headstock, you know, and even touches, you know, it comes down here but tends to leave that square on the larger headstocks. And again here, this curve this side goes right up to that corner there and curves that shoulder over a bit. And again here, you know, you see the typical like sort of, you know, nice starting points there to the neck, and make sure, you know, that's at roughly the 14th fret and then going to just beyond the 15th fret sort of thing. And I've marked those on here, so these are the things you work to now. And you know, I use this cheese grater sort of file, and of course my Shinto file to do it, and I've got this little file which is razor sharp and damn beautiful. And you know, for doing, I went over this in the Les Paul thing, but for doing round bits like, I mean, it just rips through the wood, you know, it's really good. That's great for doing transitions. You know, this bit here you can do with a round rasp, but again, just be careful that you don't, you know, you're not enthusiastically doing it here and you take it down into a dip. That's a disaster. So yeah, so basically now, you know, because we did this back flat, we know the thickness is right and the curve is symmetrical because we did it with that like facet method. So now it's just a case of going round it and titivating and doing all the transitions and work like that, and you'll get there. So bring you back when I've done that, getting close. Well, we're really getting quite close on this now, and basically, you know, just finishing kind of thing where there's a bit of wobbliness or whatever, and the more time you take doing the neck, the better guitar you'll have, you know. You just get it right if there's any bumpy bits or things like that. But it's very important to follow the cues, if you like, from the original neck, you know, the shape round here and things like that, because you know, both Fender and Gibson did make very elegant necks. I mean, when you consider some of the stuff that was around in the 60s, especially the British stuff, I mean, it was, oh god, it was awfully clunky. So, you know, we got the right thickness. I mean, I can feel there's work to do round here. There's lumps and bumps and things like that. And, you know, I mean, I just, you know, go over it. And the best measurement things you've got are these. And just like feel things like that. And like, yeah, I mean, it's coming on really, yeah, we're nearly done with it now. I mean, it's amazing. You know, I can shape a Fender neck in like half the time of a Gibson neck. But this is, you know, very elegant sort of thing. So, yeah, just keep going over it till you're happy with it. And anything, I mean, you know, I wanted a fairly robust neck. Yeah, so it's just carrying on with the sandpaper and the files and whatnot, so that's it. Right, hi there. I mean, we've basically done this neck now. You know, it's absolutely looking beautiful, feels great, and you know, it's taken me like half the time of a Gibson neck easily, just because of the, you know, the no complications with a tip back headstock, or you know, a bigger neck heel for a tenon or anything like that. But yeah, you can see now it's come out really nice. It's got a nice not chunky feel, but solid feel. And what I'll be doing, what I actually find, one of the things, the big differences between modern guitars, manufactured guitars, and vintage ones, is there was a lot more work done by hand on vintage ones. So you tend to find, you know, edges are rounded and more rounded because it's hand sanded and stuff. And you know, that's pretty typical. You know, you don't get like sharp edges sort of thing that are obviously machine done. And one thing I like to do, so when I actually shape the neck, I go back, I don't curve the neck all the way up to the fretboard joint. The neck gets square just before the fretboard joint, so it's as wide as the maple is as wide as the fretboard, for probably, you know, 3 mil below the fretboard. And then what I do is, when I actually do the fret edges, I actually file the fretboard down a fraction. And what I find, you know, a lot of people comment on it. They say, "Oh, your necks feel really comfortable." And I'm one for, like, you know, when your hand is round it, if this edge isn't sharp, because, you know, the widest part of the neck is just on the maple, you know, it gives it that nice rolled edged feel, which is really nice, and that's what I tend to go for. But yeah, we're done with that now. It's good enough, you know, for basically just now. You've got sanding to do, just for finishing sort of thing. And yeah, it's come out really nicely, and it's a nice looking bit of wood actually. Nothing fancy, because Fender didn't like anything fancy. So, you know, we've actually got, you know, a guitar, even more of a guitar looking thing here now, so that's really good. I like that a lot. And think I'll nip in and have a cup of coffee and go from there. Thank you all. Well, hi there. Now we've got the neck like you know, basically done. I've spent another 20 minutes sanding it, and it's just looking superb now. What I want to do is I want to get the bridge holes, string holes done, and the bridge sort of mounted, but I don't want to do that till I've got the neck on. Now, in the template I have here, I did drill through to the body that I used. I did drill the neck plate holes, but not like 100% confident of them. So what I'm going to do is just put this template on the body now, line it all up, which is pretty easy, and then I'm just going to dot through to where these are. And see what we come out with the other side. So I've just dotted them there. Now I've got a Fender F neck plate for it. Put that on and see where we are. Now the holes line up really well on there, but what I'm a bit concerned about is when you look at you know, the neck plates on all, I mean, this is a 1982 one here, so that's, you know, that's just, you know, look how bad that is. Honestly, they can't put it in the right place because they've cut that too small. And so anyway, so they've brought the neck plate back a little bit, which is completely wrong. But you look, for instance, you know, here you've got a 61 one, the neck plate is pretty near the end of the neck, end of the body, heel sort of thing. And on here it's probably even a little bit closer, so they're all very close, and the edge of the body is slightly sanded to a curve. So in my view, if I drilled holes there, it wouldn't be bad, but I'd rather it be a bit further forward, something like that. And if we look as well, I think we're okay. Just wondering about the neck. It's difficult to tell apart from this one here. It's quite close to the edge there. But I mean, I dare say these, I mean, that's further away there, so I think it's just we're nearly there. I mean, what we can do is actually put the neck plate on the inside, and that will give us a really good position as well, because you know you can see square edges on the body and things like that. And what we don't want, you know, is when we bolt the neck on, if this plate is in the wrong place, then we'll have, you know, these holes in here for the neck screws will be over to one side, which you don't want. So what I'm going to do is put the plate on the inside, mark and drill the holes there, and I quite like that there. So I want the holes in the middle here. Oh damn, that's not going to work there. Right, we've got the 4 holes marked in there, not very well, but I don't want to drill through with this. I want it on my pillar drill so it's nice and square, and I can start off with like a small hole, but you want to get them, you know, you want to get them pretty damn right. You don't want the holes out of line so the screws go in a bit funny sort of thing. But yeah, in the first instance I'm going to drill this hole because that one looks to be in the perfect place. So I'll drill that, get the drill press set up and do it. Right, okay, so I've drilled that hole out there. So if we have a look, you can see on there now that will go there, and that's right in the middle of that hole. So that's perfect. I like that. You know, you've got a nice, you know, bit of wood there to chamfer off that edge and around there. So that's looking really nice. That being exactly there. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to, I wonder if I can screw that in place, because I want to get all these holes really accurate, really as nice as I can, so that screws go through and they're a nice tight fit. I can't remember how I did this usually now. The thing is, this one at the back here looks exactly perfect as well, so I'm going to drill that one. You'll notice that, you know, I push the drill down in the hole and bring the rubbish up out of the hole. When this drill probably wouldn't, but drills are bendy, and you know, if they get junk in the hole they can twist and go slightly askew. So that's why I do that with a thinner drill. Now that's absolutely perfect there, but these holes I've spotted here aren't. So I want to basically do something to, I mean, I could put a G clamp around there, but then I can't get the body flat. Yeah, I'll get back to you when I've sorted that out. Well, what I've done, I've got some short screws that are a really good fit in the holes, the 4mm holes. They don't go rock solid. I mean, they hold it tight enough, but they don't really cut the hole. So that's held that in place now, so I can drill these holes accurately. And let's try that. Yeah, that's really nice now. If you don't get the, I mean, if you don't get those holes accurately spaced, the thing is that you end up, you know, the screws then go in at an angle, and you can't, it's difficult to tighten them up. Also, you know, your only other option then is to really open up the holes to take away the inaccuracy, and you know, you end up with the screw being slack in the hole sort of thing, and with a neck joint you don't really want that. So these are actually have to be drilled pretty accurate, and you can see what I actually did. I mean, these screws, they're not really biting into the wood as such, but I just had some long screws that were parallel and cut them off so they're not too long sticking out of the body. But Here we are. So we've got the 4 holes there now, and they don't look off centre in the neck socket or anything. And if we look on the back, you know, they're nicely on there now. And we put the neck plate on, and you know, that will be really nice on there. So there's not any ill fitment, so to speak. So that's all right. That's good. So right, what I've done here now is I've clamped the neck on, and I just want to make sure the neck is basically not, you know, shifted sort of thing around. I mean, it's tight against the shoulder on this side of the neck heel, so I mean it shouldn't be too far out. We've got the centre line of the body marked here. It's pretty easy on the Strat, but my templates have the centre line marked on them. But you know, you've got this channel between the pickups sort of thing, and you can judge it from that. But you know, it's pretty easy to do. And then the actual centre line of the neck is where the crosshead nut is for the truss rod. So we've got the centre line done. So if I put a ruler down this side of the neck and mark where it is here, where it basically crosses roughly where the bridge is, and I can put a ruler down this side of the neck and again mark here where it is, and just check that we're, you know, the neck is central, it's perfect and perfect there. So now with the neck on, I'll get the same drill as I use in the drill press. So here we go, carefully lift it up because it's only got one clamp in it. Don't want to bash it anywhere on the ceiling. And I can basically just spot these holes now through to the so I can just spot those through now, and that's where the right, so we've got those marked on there now, and you can see how nice they are. They're not shifted or anything like that. They're absolutely lined up with the centre of the neck sort of thing. So I'll drill pilot holes there. I mean, I'm going to drill them smaller than 4mm for now. I'll just drill a 3mm hole in them, and then at least we'll know the neck is joined properly and everything. The thing is, you obviously with a Strat neck, you do have a little bit of play in it, and you can always fiddle it about, undo the screws, push it around a bit and fiddle about with it. It's not, you know, we're not talking like a glue-in neck where you got one chance to get it right, and if you don't, you're unsticking it again. So I'll get and drill pilot holes in these now. I'll do 3mm holes, just so you know they're there, sort of thing. So that will be that done. So here we go. Here's the neck fitted now. There's a radius to put in there, sort of thing, because it does look as though it's a bit over, but it's not. So there's a radius to sand on there, which I haven't done yet, but I just use small screws to put it in, just 40mm long screws. I don't want to use the genuine ones because the neck will be on and off 1,000 times probably, so don't want to whatever, you know, open up the holes in the neck. You can see how nicely it fits there. Absolutely perfect. You know, there's a bit of sanding to do on the body, so it's got a slight, very slight lip on there, but I mean next to nothing. You know, it's a good neck joint. So basically, you know, now we've got what is really beginning to look like a Stratocaster. And but it is important to do that neck nicely. I see so many people like you know, just hold the neck on and like drill the pilot holes through sort of thing and all that, and then graunch it up. No, do it really properly, because you know that goes in so nicely there now, and it fits so well. If you drill with a hand drill into there, you've got so much chance of getting it at an angle. You'll end up making a mess. So either, if you're doing it with the hand drill, be bloody careful, or use a drill press. And now, you know, we've got everything fits really nicely on here. We know where everything goes. It's just right, which is nice. So now I've got the neck on, and I know that's accurately on there. I can basically screw the bridge on, and then do the holes for the strings through it. So that'll be really good. So we'll get that done, and I'll get back to you. Okay, we're working on the bridge now, getting it on. And the thing with the bridge, I don't know, bring you in a bit closer. There is supposed to be a tiny gap between the end of the pickguard and the bridge. So that's what I'm working to. I mean, the pickguards come cut with this gap here, sort of, you know, to the sides of the tailpiece or bridge, and then, you know, I've kept an even gap all the way round, sort of thing. I mean, you look at some of them and there is a bit of difference. Some are slammed right up to the pickguard and whatnot, but what I've done is I held it there with my hand, and I've drilled one hole. My actual centre hole that I drilled on the centre line to hold the template on was actually very fractionally too far forward, so I didn't want to use that. So I've put one screw in now that's got the bridge on there, like absolutely perfect, you can see. So what I'm going to do now, I mean, sorry, pickguard's moved a bit there, but you know, you can see you've got a nice even gap all around there now. So what I'm going to do is go back to the drill press, drill this hole here, screw the tailpiece in, and then drill the centre hole again and screw it. And that's only a very shallow hole there, but I've got the correct, I bought the correct screws for the hardtail bridge. I mean, that's the one thing with you've got to watch out with crazy parts, is that you know, you buy their bits and the screws come separate, everything is separate. The website is very quirky, but you know, at least you can get the bits. So I'm going to drill press this now, and then we'll come back and screw the tailpiece in properly. So there we go. Well, you can see now I've got the pickguard, I've got the tailpiece screwed in absolutely perfectly with a beautiful even gap around the pickguard. See that? Yeah. And what I can do now is, now the bridge is in exactly the right place, I can use the screwed in base plate as a guide to cut the string holes. And the thing is with this is line it up as best you can, and you know, perfectly, so use the biggest drill you can to go through these holes, which is about 3mm. Make sure it's dead in line with it, and just peck drill and bring up the debris out the hole a lot, because guaranteed when you get through the other side, the drill will have moved a little bit. So yeah. Yeah, we're through. So I'll get on and do the rest of those and get you back, but yeah, I'll do one more. It's just so important to get the drill going through there. Okay, I'll get you back. Well, here we go. We've got the very familiar hole pattern there for the bridge with the 6 string holes there. Now they've come out the back here obviously, but we can see now using the tailpiece how accurate the drill has gone through. And to be honest, it's absolutely perfect. I can, all the holes are lined up absolutely perfectly, which really surprises me. Must have had a good drill, but yeah, they're absolutely fine. Because the thing is now, obviously we've got to put the string ferrules in, and if those holes aren't lined up, I mean they are. I mean, I'll just show you. Here's the 3mm drill, so I'll put it in the first one. There you go, it goes in the first one. Oh, there's a bit of gunge on it. Let's get that cleaned out. So, just to give an example how well it went through. There you go. There's the there's the 2E strings. Doesn't it? I mean, that goes through fine. That goes through fine. That goes through fine. That's a bit out. That the B string is fractionally out. I mean, I can see at least 3/4 of the hole through there, so the B is slightly wrong. But the problem is when you put the string ferrules in, what you'll get, because they're a much larger diameter, you know, the gaps between them are a lot closer, and then what you'll find is that you know, you'll notice that they're not spaced accurately, and at this point in Fender's manufacture they were spaced perfectly. If you've got an early Telecaster, they're all over the damn place, but you need to get them spaced perfectly. And what I've done is I've got I drilled this jig that's accurate. Well, even that's not very accurate. I can see that that gap there is wider, but I can use this to drill the holes for the ferrules sort of thing. I think I can. I've also got another one here that I did. Maybe that's the one. I haven't done it for so long. Yeah, that looks absolutely perfect, that, I think. But yeah, anyway, it's just a question that you need to get them right. So it's a bit of a struggle, but at least we're really in the ballpark there. And to be honest, now we're getting quite a nice looking guitar there, aren't we? So that's pretty good. Yeah, absolutely happy with that. everything's fitting really well, which is important. And the thing is, I've been reading a lot more about 67 Strat, and there's everything I like about a Stratocaster in the 67. Well, hi there. Don't know how much of the last video came out because the camera stopped again. But I was just saying that, you know, I'm really glad I've chosen a 67. I'd really forgotten my Fender history really, but I was reading up on it a lot last night. And, you know, the 67 has just got sort of every feature I like really. You know, it's sort of the first year with the F tuners, which I really like. It still has the transition logo, which I prefer to the later black one. The 67 would apparently always be an Indian rosewood fretboard. 66 sometimes still had Brazilian, so we write with that. The other thing I like as well, I think is most important, in 67 it still was completely cellulose paint. Apparently in 68 the neck was cellulose but the body was polyester. So I think we really, you know, I've kind of nailed what I want. Also I was looking at like finishing it. I mean, I'm going to do this in a sunburst finish, and I mean, I know that's standard, and I could do anything. I mean, I do love, you know, also I do love the surf green Strats and things like that, especially with the coloured in headstock. Like those as well, but I want this as kind of a nod to my first guitar with the sunburst, which I really still really like. But things we've got to do now, you know, I was playing catch up with the neck, and all of a sudden now that's up to speed. So we've got, you know, we've got the body to catch up with a little bit, and it's these little radiuses here, things like that, and round there, and the whole thing just needs a really thorough sanding. So I'm going to dismantle it now, and I'm going to carve these first, these like transition curves into the neck heel, do that, and then I can just concentrate on sanding it. Also there's this little corner here, this is rounded off a lot more on the, you know, so I have to do that as well. And here this is rounded off as well, it's still square, so that will be rounded off, and it just needs a good sanding. And one of the problems is, I think, with using alder is it tends to be a bit more, the end grain really picks up, so there's quite a lot of sanding to do on this. But you know, I think it's just, you know, it's coming on really well now, and it's going to look nice. The other thing I'm going to do is the pick guards on the 60s ones weren't, you know, by this era, weren't celluloid. They're obviously a different plastic, because they really are white, and I'm not sure whether I really like that. So I'll probably use this pick guard, which I know is super accurate, nice one, slightly yellowed, which I think looks nice. Also, when I come to spray in the sunburst, I'm going to go for a really thin black edge, which I really like. I don't like the sort of wide black sort of thing coming into white and a little bit of yellow. I do like the thin black edging, so that will be that. But yep, so I'll fettle these edges now and go from there. Thank you. Well, hi guys, welcome back to 3R Guitars and this late 67 Strat build. I have been literally sanding like crazy on this thing, and it's really coming up lovely now. You know, as I've said in my previous builds, the more sanding you do, the better the finish you get. And what I find is it's almost a thankless task, and then all of a sudden things start coming together, and you know, you're on to the sort of, I'm down to a 180 grit on this now. I've been using like 80 to get the shape. You know, it's all these like curves, you want to get them subtle and stuff like that. And you know, all in the cutaways is obviously the most difficult bit to sand. I can feel there, as soon as I feel there now, I've got more to do. But yeah, it's coming together. I've actually, you can see I've put the worm route in it now. I haven't got a ball nose cutter to do that, so I just did it with a gouge chisel sort of thing, which is yeah, perfectly fine. They were very roughly done. They were obviously done freehand in the factory, because they're all over the place. Some of them curve into the slot there, some of them are just straight-ish, but all of them are different. Like I say, on this, although it's the only bits I've got to do in the body now, the only final bit of work is actually drill the clearance holes for the string ferrules in the back, but I haven't got those through the post yet, so that's the last bit to do on the body. But we're all good. And like I say, when I start, I'm you know, I love my Stratocasters sort of thing, as I've said with my first one, but I know there's a lot of little subtleties on these bodies. You know, there's construction dowels that obviously the neck blanks were the body blanks were basically located into pin routers with. I mean, you know, there's holes on the front that are doweled up sort of thing, and there's holes on the back that are doweled up, and you know, if you've got a hardtail like this, there's no dowels on the front, but you can't see them on a finished guitar, only really when you sand them down. And there's also like nail holes, which by all accounts, you know, they tucked panel pins in various places, and it said that, you know, they could actually put the body down then balancing on the pins. You know, they'd spray the front, put the body down on the surface, spray the back sort of thing. You know, and they are in various places, but I'm not going to replicate any of that, because like I say, Strats are so easily forged, and it's like, you know, somebody could take, you know, buy this, or in years and years time when I've got fed up with it, you know, oh, we'll take the body off, we'll take the neck off, we'll do this, we'll do that. And equally on the neck, there's dowel holes as well, for the same thing in manufacture, and there's obviously various markings and stuff. I'm not going to replicate any of that on this, so there we go. But the sanding's coming on well. I think today I'm actually running really low on sanding sealer, but I want to get a coat of sanding sealer on it, so I'll probably just brush it on, to be honest, the first coat. But I'll get the first coat of sanding sealer on just to protect it, sort of thing, and then we can get on with the finishing. So there we go. Thank you all.